The people decide. The voices impacting Omaha. This is Election Coverage 2025 on The Dan Parsons Show.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to The Dan Parsons Show. I'm your host, Dan Parsons. If you haven't noticed, the final countdown in the race for mayor of Omaha is in the home stretch, with just days to go before voters head to the polls this coming Tuesday, May 13th. Incumbent Republican Mayor Gene Stothert is facing off against Democrat and Douglas County Treasurer John Ewing Jr. Both candidates joined me on the Dan Parsons Show just a few weeks ago. Those interviews are still available, so go check them out. And as you may remember, we've partnered with Flatwater Free Press and Civic Nebraska on their voter guide project for the Omaha City elections. We shared those interviews with Flatwater and Civic Nebraska for wider publication. So go check out that very useful tool before you vote. Well, I asked both Mayor Stothert and John Ewing about the city's use of tax-increment financing, or TIF. It's a development tool that's drawn some heat lately, both on the local and the state level. I asked, if elected, how would they approach it? And would they keep it as is or push for changes? Here's what they said.
One of the things I believe that we have to make sure we're doing with TIF is we have to make sure we are following the guidelines. And that is for economically blighted or extremely blighted areas. So I would utilize TIF more in some of our more economically distressed areas. And then the second thing I believe we have to do with that is make sure that we don't over rely on TIF. I think the only thing that prevents a city from being able to be successful with economic development is really the creativity. So we have things like the Good Life districts now. If we can create TIF, if we can create the Good Life districts, we can look at other ways to create economic development as well. With TIF, you take property and you freeze the value for 15 to 20 years. And then that additional revenue that is available as the property values increase go to pay off the debt. That money does not come to the city, the county, or the school district to help with their growing needs. So I would look at things where we can be more creative, like the Good Life districts, where they actually take a portion of the new state sales tax that's created by the investment, and that money goes to pay off the debt instead. So you don't have frozen property values and you don't have money actually being siphoned off to pay the debt. It's just revenue neutral.
We use TIF very judiciously, very carefully. I established a TIF committee that has a lot of my department directors. And when a developer comes in with a development, with an idea, and they want to use TIF, sometimes they never even get through the initial interview with the planning department. And the planning department will say, no, this doesn't follow state law. But those that do, it's a very open process that we have, a lot of transparency. They apply with the planning department. They determine by state law their amount of TIF eligible expenses. They have to satisfy that but for. And the but for is this development would never happen but for the TIF. When the Mike Foley came out and he did a report to the legislature, he made some comment about diversion of tax dollars. That was just assuming that all these would happen without TIF. And I know they wouldn't because of the process that we use. And there is so much development that has happened in Omaha because of that. And so I think we use it very carefully. Then after it goes to an open meeting with the planning board, people could come and talk about it. They can either be a proponent or opponent. Then it goes to the city council for them to approve it. But let me give you a couple examples. The Blackstone area in Omaha, if you're familiar with it, it was decaying. About 12 years ago, it all started with the conversion of Farnham. Farnham was one way, and so people were speeding like they usually do on a one-way. We converted it to two-way. Since then, there has been $500 million of of investment in the Blackstone wouldn't have happened without TIF, would not have happened without TIF. Another example is Central Park Plaza, which are the two twin towers at the end of the Jean Leahy Mall. Sullivan's Steakhouse is at the base. It was an office building that was 75% vacant, soon to be 100% vacant, right in downtown, but it was going to be 100% vacant. The Todd Hestead, an Omaha developer, came in, and he's building 707 apartments in there. Some are affordable, some are market rate. Said he could not do it without TIF. Another example I want to give you how judicious we are with it is Crossroads at 72nd and Dodge. It was owned by Frank Krejci individually for years. When he was going to develop it, it was about a $300 million development, and the TIF eligible expenses were around $100 million. Now they have a new ownership. You're going to see a lot of action there this spring, and it's a $900 million development now. It's still $100 million of TIF, because there are only certain TIF eligible expenses. I did talk to Auditor Foley. He said he did not say that Omaha was using it wrong, TIF. We went ahead, I moved it even forward from that, and I hired an external auditor to come in and audit everything the way the city uses TIF. And they came back and they said the city's using it exactly like state law to the letter. So I wanted to assure myself and the citizens of Omaha that we were using it correctly. But a lot of this development would never happen without our use of TIF. It's an economic development tool that, when used properly and according to state law, results in just a ton of reinvestment in the city.
Hey, my sincere thanks to Mayor Stothert and John Ewing for coming on the show to speak to voters during your campaigns. Omaha residents, don't forget to vote. Turnout in local elections is typically lower, so your vote on Tuesday will have even more influence on the future of our city and our state. The polls open for the Omaha City general elections this Tuesday, May 13th, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. See this episode's description for the Flatwater Free Press and Civic Nebraska voter guide and more voter resources. Thanks to Chase Porter for your great job in producing this episode. Penology Tech Solutions for your technical help and equipment. Kim Remington, Parsons Public Relations Director of Operations. And most importantly, my thanks to each of you for tuning in. And hey, if you're into what we're doing here, holding truth over tribalism, here are a few things to do to show your love. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get a notice when a new episode appears. Hit like on the video or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And let us know in the comments who's got your vote on May 13th. Okay, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now go do good things. I'm Dan Parsons.